How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Good to hear from you.
I wanted to just connect with you about your complaint about the city of Victoria.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad we are. Definitely need to.
Pardon me, I didn't catch that.
Oh, I said, yeah. I'm glad you are. We definitely need to connect about this. It's really gone crazy and it's escalated beyond any reason. So.
Okay. So, with respect to the issue, sorry, I should back up a bit. As you know from the messages I left you previously, Tricia Apland, who was originally investigating your complaint, moved to another team in our office, so she transferred your file to me.
Okay.
She had sent you a letter outlining her sort of preliminary assessment of the city's response, and you had sent our office a number of emails after that.
Yeah.
That's
I think the most. Yeah. Sure.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. And I think the most significant of that is. One very significant part of that is that what somebody had found for me in the Residential Tenancy Act, where it states that the city is obliged to, it's not a choice they have, they are obliged to come out and investigate tenants' complaints about health and safety issues, and which clearly demonstrates that they have the power to do it, even though they claim they didn't. And that they just completely ignored that. They refused to come out. And then, on top of that, that insult to injury is this is all centered around...
Back up the bus.
Sure.
What section of the Residential Tenancy Act says that? I'm not familiar with that.
Well, I'm going to have to look it up here while we're talking here. And a friend got it for me and sent it to me. But so I'm going to have to look that up in a second.
Sure.
But what I sent around was an actual screen capture of the act, what was written in the act. Okay? And so I believe you guys have a copy of that. But I can look it up to try to find out, or probably easier, I'll just contact the friend and say, hey, where did you screen capture that from, and whatever. But he got it right from the act.
Okay.
With this thing, there's 3 issues now have come out of this. Number one, the whole original one is where there was, and still outstanding health issues, concerns to deal with my suite here, as far as the asbestos inspection, which is very evident that it was falsified. It was not. Nobody did an asbestos inspection. The fellow who signed the form never attended my suite other than the first day when they came in, before they even knew they had to take it. They came in thinking they only had to repair a leak, and that was it. And
that was is that the WorkSafe issue?
Well, that came up after that, because with the asbestos, I knew it was an issue there. But then when I received the form, and this is only a side issue of this thing, but when I received the forms, they gave me 2 of them in the same day, hang them on my suite. I think they meant to come back and get the original one they hung up, but I had taken that down already, so they hung up a second one with different wordings. So there's 2 different existing for the same day, but signed by the same guy who never came into the suite to do the inspection. So the asbestos.
And who ordered that inspection?
I'm not too sure. Actually, that I'm not too sure who ordered it. I believe it was ordered by the contractors doing the job, because they realized that when they got in here that a job was way bigger than BC Housing told them, and that it involved several rooms, and in the other rooms is where the asbestos became the very clear, obvious problem. But it was a problem in both issues.
Okay.
In both. But the reality is long before I even discovered that.
I don't understand the link to the city of Victoria.
Oh, well, because that was just one of the things that they didn't come out and inspect, and they've been made aware of the discrepancy in the form, and they still haven't acted on that. So that's like I said, that's just a side issue on this thing, whatever, because before we even knew there was an asbestos problem, I had been complaining about the thing, and they refused to come out to do any of the inspections. They allowed...
I'm not aware of any obligation the city has to do asbestos inspections.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up right here to see. It's what it is. It's under the Residential Tenancy Act. And the city will purposely claimed that, and it's, I got it recorded and stuff. They claimed that they don't have the powers. It's not within their authority to come out and do these inspections. That's is what they had claimed. But I'm just trying to get to that page here where I've got that listed here.
Yeah, no rush.
And anyways, so they never came out and did any of that. So that's the one thing, and I'll find that link in a second here. But then what they did do, then there was the weed problem. It was been there all the time when I went. And so I said, well, if they won't come out and do this, I know they have to come out and inspect about the weeds. So I called them about that. And then that turned into a big joke, because they first were making claims that the weeds weren't that bad. And then they were claiming that the weeds weren't considered noxious weeds, even though the city does consider them noxious weeds and has a rule to the height they have to keep some of the weeds to, and some of them are so noxious they're instructed to remove them. And so they refuse to do anything about that. And now finally they have come up and cleaned it up, because I made enough stink about it. So it's the first time it's been cleaned up in like 6 years, and I got video evidence showing that they purposely targeted and left only my garden to go to full-on crazy weeds. And I got video where I went around the complex on my mobility aid, so it's uninterrupted video. You can see the entire complex, how they keep all the gardens here. The gardeners do great work, but how they left mine with all the noxious weeds, the weeds.
Are these weeds on city property?
Well, that's another that's another thing too. They're on the BC Housing property, and in BC Housing, when I beat them before the residential tenancy branch, they were excused for two things that they're contradicting themselves in this right now. One is they claimed that wasn't my garden. And they said that they also claimed that they were not a facility to house people with disabilities, that they were just a standard marketplace thing. Now they're claiming the opposite of that in the new case that this is all tied to. They're claiming they are a facility, so they can't have it both ways, because they escaped accountability for blocking my entranceway for 6 months, my mobility entranceway. I couldn't get up my mobility aid, nothing. They were excusing that because they weren't a facility for people with disabilities, but they are, and they've admitted that now in this new case. And then
you have a case related to that.
A bunch of them.
The residential tenancy branch.
Well, that one's about to be filed, and they know it's coming, but it's a huge one, because it's just there's so much involved in this. So and their evidence, the requirements of evidence that the RTB that they put upon tenants is onerous, and so it's the hardest one to file, and whatever. But I've also got 3 active human rights tribunal complaints going to go with this now too, and they've all been accepted and are going through the process right now. And in fact, BC Housing has hired one of the biggest guns, most famous lawyers in Canada to fight this mental health fellow that I'm helping out, and then to fight me, because they've got a retaliatory complaint against them, and the city has a complaint against them too. And the city's complaint is directly related to what we're talking about here. Well, it all is, but it's directly related because not only would they fail in inspecting how they were required to inspect here for my suite, for the issues, and then they failed about the weed stuff, they also chose, at BC Housing's request, to bring out fire department inspectors, to inspect my legal prescribed federally licensed medication, which I've had for 16 plus years. And they brought the fire department in, and it was very obvious when the fire department guy was here, as soon as the fellow from BC Housing started to address my medication, he looked right away. He was uncomfortable. He didn't want anything to do with the conversation, and all he would say is, he would look up and hold his hands up like a surrender kind of thing. Like, oh no, I have no questions. I have no problems here. He didn't want to have nothing to do with questioning about my medical marijuana. But yet, he still is a city official that the city chose to send out. They don't send the fire department out to make sure people are charging their cell phones properly, and that's a leading cause of fires. They don't send the fire department out to check on people how they're smoking tobacco, and that's a leading cause of fire. Marijuana, medical marijuana use is not a leading cause of fires at all. And so yet they brought out the fire department, and it was a whole crew came in here under false pretenses, saying it was a standard suite inspection that they conducted us several times a year, and it wasn't. It was the fire department in. So that brought out the human rights tribunal complaint against them, because not only did they fail me in other ways in doing the inspection.
Complaint with the HRT about that.
Oh yeah, and it's been accepted, yeah, and so it's going ahead. So some of the stuff that you're doing, and because there's so many complaints involved here, some of them are going to take precedent over whatever results of that too.
Right. But so all the matters that you have currently before the HRT would not be anything that our office would get involved in.
With the HRT.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like those issues itself, but their failure to, because I understand this thing, how it was worded by you guys about this investigation by the Ombudsperson's office was that it was you were investigating the city's response
to the bylaw complaint.
To the bylaw complaint, and then
not to this new thing about the marijuana inspection that was not part of our original investigation.
Oh no, yeah,
so we're not looking at any of that. And
oh no, you guys don't have a choice in that. You have to look at it now. Because
well, not if you filed something.
Oh no! Oh yeah! Oh no!
Yeah. You know about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not going to look at that.
Oh no! But you're
HRT is the best place for you to sort that out.
Oh yeah, but hang on here. But that doesn't exclude you guys doing it. All it does by the law is it just means that it takes a precedent over your investigation. But when it's done, your investigation still has to investigate the city's response to this, and the city's response was to ignore what the requirement under the bylaw, and I'm still looking for that here as we're talking.
Yeah.
And they ignored that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so they ignored that, and then they ignored their own bylaw requirements for the weeds going on, for the weed removal and the noxious weeds, and I've got that recorded and documented up the yin yang, and then they chose to inspect now over reefer madness. Like, there was nothing for them to inspect here at all. I've had a license for this long. I never had to have any inspections, whatever like that. Anytime that landlords brought that fire department in, the landlord was given hell for doing it because there was no concerns, no legitimate concerns that they had for it. It was just merely discrimination.
Right,
and so
that's a matter that you have taken up with the HRT.
I will, yeah. But your guys' case is definitely, you guys aren't off the hook on this. You guys still have to investigate this, but I understand that the priority is left for the due. Here, I found it right now. Good.
Okay, perfect. What section is it?
Well, I'm just reading here. It's Government BC, because it's, I can probably, well, I sent it to you guys already, so you guys should have it, but let's see here. I'm just reading here, because I just have a screen capture of it, and so it says, under repairs and maintenance, and then it says province, well, it says provin, and then ... so I assume it says province, and it can come from the www.gov.bc.ca. So that's where this was taken from. Okay. And it says standards of maintenance. The Residential Tenancy Act requires landlords maintain their rental properties in a state that is suitable for occupancy. Blah, blah, blah. Where is it? I'm looking for that. I need the paragraph down, sorry.
That's okay.
Tenants may contact their local government to have municipal inspectors investigate their property to see if any conditions violate health or safety requirements. Landlords must meet specific requirements to come to provide essential non-services. Okay, and this goes on. So basically it says that the local governments have the authority to establish standards of maintenance and bylaws for the building, and we do have bylaws for the buildings, and the tenants, it says the tenants may contact their local government to have municipal inspectors investigate their properties.
What section of the RTB, of the RTA is that?
Well, it just says here, it starts off under standards of maintenance, and it says the Residential Tenancy Act requires landlords maintain. So this is the government site. They don't cite what segment of it they do on this capture I have. But they do have a links reference to it on this thing, but obviously the links aren't active because it's just a screen capture. And so so it doesn't say that it doesn't say anywhere that they are excused from the city's excuse. It says that the tenants may contact the government to have them and their inspectors investigate their property to see if any conditions violate health or safety requirements. So it doesn't say residential, or it doesn't say property maintenance or suite maintenance, whatever. It just says directly if any conditions violate health or safety requirements, and that's what I complained about the city. And they refused to, and they claimed that they didn't have the power or authority to do it, and that's not true. They clearly do. The government recognizes itself on their own website and makes reference to standards of maintenance. So what I'll do though is I'm going to contact the fellow who sent this to me, this screen capture, and I'm going to get him to direct me to the exact thing, and then I'll send it to you guys too. But for sure, at least the headings it's under the government .bc.ca site, and it's under a heading repairs and maintenance, and then it says something about province or provincial or something like that. I don't know. But then the subheading is standards of maintenance. So probably if that's searched, it'll probably take you to it. But like I said, I'll contact my friend, and then I'll forward the link to you for that.
Yeah, I'm looking at Section 32 of the Act. So it says the landlord must provide and maintain residential property in a state of decoration and repair that complies with health, safety, and housing standards required by law.
Yeah, see, that right there proves it too. But you just read there, unequivocal.
It's actually not. Yeah. And having regard to the age, character, blah, blah, blah. Tenant must maintain, the tenant must repair, the tenant...
Yeah, and I was told too. Yeah, I was told by the city that I was responsible for maintaining the what they admitted was noxious weeds, because when they came out, they didn't look, they just saw and said, oh no, that could be like a design, even though it didn't match nothing else around. It was all weeds, and I got a dog and it's speargrass.
They've cut all of that now, or they asked BC Housing to cut it?
Well, BC Housing did cut it, but they haven't gardened it or nothing. It's just now flattened down weeds, and that's all they've done to it. And and what I was starting to get to there, telling you, is that they use an example saying to me, well, if it was something like the blackberry bushes, those we do consider noxious. I'm like, it's full of blackberry bushes. I said, oh, you just didn't even see them. Like, how can you not see them? I got pictures of it. They were literally covering over my daughter's bedroom window. It was so out of control. And they said, no, it doesn't seem too bad for the pathway. I said, because I can't get out with my mobilier unless I trim it myself. And so she said, well, you're responsible for making repair. I says, that's not my suite. It's not my garden. I says, so I'm not responsible for it. Plus, I said, you can't order me to work. I'm disabled. It's stupid that you're going to tell me that I have to go out and trim blackberry bushes when I'm disabled. Like, that's just, that right away is a violation of my rights. Because it's like my human rights.
Have those been removed now?
No. The only the speargrass, the speargrass and everything else I planted in that garden was raised, like shock and awe. Just they came through like with Agent Orange and cleaned it. So the garden now has nothing in it. It's just a patch of dead dirt and dead weeds laying there. But they didn't properly take care of the blackberry bushes, because they're growing back full tilt now again. Because they're just so aggressive, those ones, eh? So right. It's still, but the reality is that they finally did it is immaterial. What the issue here is that the city had 3 opportunities to do inspections, and 2 of them they ignored my rights, and the 3rd one they violated my rights. So I mean, it's the response. If you guys invest in the response to my contact in the bylaw offices, 3 huge fails. One was so huge, it's a human rights tribunal complaint now.
Okay, so if you can send me that screenshot that you're referring to.
Well, that's the thing is I will send it, no problem. But again, your previous worker, however she's been, I'm doing quotation marks, and I reassigned.
Sorry?
I'm you're the previous worker who used to be on this case.
Yeah.
I'm saying with the word reassigned, I'm doing quotation marks, because I don't believe for a second she was reassigned. I believe she was taken off the case because I had to hang up on her, and that's been publicly made loud and stuff. So then right after that, no, you're on the case. So I don't believe for a second she was I think she was reassigned.
Okay, well, there's no point in us discussing that, because I've told you the truth. If you don't believe that, that's certainly, I'm not going to argue with you about that.
Well, but you are, because what you are arguing with me against it, because you're talking over me and not letting me finish the sentence. I could just finish the sentence; it was almost done, and then we could move on. But you by talking over me and not letting me finish what I'm saying, you are arguing with me. And then I'm trying to finish saying what I was saying is that I sent it to her already. So you guys should have it. That if you don't have it and you're asking me to send it to you, that I find offensive again, because I sent it in already. And it was ignored. And I complained about it being ignored, and that was ignored. So I'll send it in to you again if you really need it. But you guys have got it. I
didn't see that.
Yeah.
If you're saying you've already sent it, then you could have mentioned that earlier. You said you would send it to me.
No. I said no. I said I would send you. No. I said no. I did not. And this whole phone call is recorded. I did not say to you, I sent it to you. I says I would send you the source of the link. I would send to you. I knew all along I'd send it. I never said I would send this to you, except for in the end here, and you asked me to send it to you again, and I was pointing out that you already had it. Before, I never said it.
I'm happy to go back and look through the file and see if I have it. I don't recall seeing that.
Yeah, that I would prefer, thank you.
But if you have sent it already, then I will go and look for it. As far as the complaints that you have made to the Human Rights Tribunal, as far as with respect to the city. As I explained to you, we wouldn't investigate something that is actively before the HRT. We do have jurisdiction over the Human Rights Tribunal, however, so if at the end of that process you're not satisfied with the outcome, you can make a complaint to our office about the HRT.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. But as far as the complaint goes with the city, I'm going to check in to see what the priorities are for that with
Sure.
with the Ombudsman's office. But nothing excludes you guys from investigating it. The only thing that can happen, possibly, that I'm aware of, is that your investigation will not come to a conclusion while the Human Rights Tribunal one is pending. But it doesn't exclude you guys from investigating it at all. These things, there's nothing to exclude. Every department that is involved in this has to do their work on it. The Ombudsman has to do their work on it. The city is supposed to be doing their work on it. And so you guys will, there's no way you guys will not be investigating this. You'll be investigating it. And if you find that the city didn't act appropriately, then the city is going to have to be admonished to whatever powers that you guys have. But just because it's before the HRT does not preclude other investigations by any means at all.
Okay, so I'm going to look in your file and see if I can see that screenshot that you're referencing. If there's any additional information that you can send to me that would indicate, which section of the RTA that screenshot is referring to or where that came from, feel free to do so. And then once I've had a chance to look at that, then I'll do my final look at your file, and I will send you my conclusions in writing, okay?
Okay. Okay. And on top of that, I just mentioned, you mentioned that you were going to look to see if you find that what I'd sent previously to your partner or workmate, whatever, and that's good. But on the phone here, you already know that you did find the evidence that supports, that's different evidence that supports this. You read it right off to me, right? Which illustrates.
What I read to you was Section 32 of the Act, which says the landlord must provide and maintain residential property in a state of decoration and repair that A, complies with the health, safety, and housing standards required by law.
Yeah, exactly.
Section 32, 1A.
Yeah, I heard you the first time, and you're exactly right. And that supports exactly what I read off of here, too. It just shows that the city was obliged to come out, and they failed to come out. They didn't come out. They refused to come out to do any inspections, and that's where like the asbestos thing comes in, because that was ignored, and so everything's been closed up and sealed up now. But is the asbestos still a problem for me right now?
Okay.
And so that it's anyway. So that still has to be addressed for sure. Okay, well, thanks for the call, and
okay, thank you, Mr. And I will, like I said, I will look, and if I don't have that screenshot, then I will contact you and ask you to send it again, and then I will go back through and take a look at everything that we have and the city's response, and then I will send you our conclusions in a letter in written form. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye.
All right.